Good evening. We'll call the March Steering Committee meeting to order. For reading and approval of the minutes, I'll call on Vice Chair Brad Turner.
Mr. Chair, I've had a chance to review the minutes, find them in order, and make a motion for their approval.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. First on our agenda is Mrs. Stevenson's the Human Resource Budget.
Good evening.
Aye.
So this year the primary difference is there's a couple of things that stand out that you'll probably notice. One of which is the evaluations and the testing. I don't know if you realized a few years back we started doing the background checks and the drug testings, which is it's almost like one of those unfunded mandates. If you receive federal grants, you're required by law to do drug testings. We've reduced that number some. It's still at 24,000. We've gotten it into a random pooling, and it's really helped us to control that, to make sure that we are doing the right drug test, and also the background checks we do on all new employees, all volunteers, part-time and full-time. So each of those are being tested. In addition to that, the other thing that we are doing now is the federal government has enacted some laws, one of which is called PREA, which is the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And because of that, we are having to do some additional testing, which is hepatitis B and also TB testing. So those have been added into those screening numbers, but that still should keep us in line with what we need to operate the county for this next year. The next line item that is a significant dollar amount is the other contracted services. I try every year to be very, very frugal with my budget, to not ask for things that I don't need, but the county continues to grow, and with all of the laws and the legislation, there are things that we have to do within the Human Resources Office. I know that there's a misconception that all we do is manage files, but we don't. We do a lot of the legal services. We handle all of the FMLA, which is a federal requirement. Under the Department of Labor, there are certain guidelines that we have to have when we post a position, when we do the selection of a position, all of those different things. And so it's gotten to the point we've been able to manage pretty well over the last few years because we've had interns from MTSU, from Motlow, from David Lipscomb, from some of the other areas, and we've had interns that come in and help us with special projects, and that's been a huge help. But now that the economy is turning around, a lot of these interns are now getting paid positions, and historically we did not pay. Because they received course credit, and they always like coming here because they said that they learned a lot from us being so close to the campus. We got a lot of MTSU. But like this semester, we don't have an intern at all, and that really helps us stay afloat with what we do. We were blessed a few years ago that a position was transferred into our department because for a long time it was just the two of us. But I'm not asking for a position, so let me say that first, but I am asking for a piece of software. What this software does for us is it helps us with the FMLA tracking. It helps us with the applicant tracking. With the Affordable Care Act, ACA, it's getting more and more stringent, and I want to make sure on my watch that we don't miss something that costs the county a fine. And quite frankly, this will be a tool that will help us keep in line the people that we hire. It streamlines the process for the departments. It's a requisition process. And one of the benefits of having this program, and the program is called NeoGov, one of the benefits of having this program is that it's also tied in with several other agencies across the state that are public entities, and also in the federal government. It's Homeland Security uses NeoGov, State of Tennessee uses it, City of Murfreesboro, Hamilton County, City of Chattanooga. Several entities across the state uses this program. And the benefit for us is it gives us access not only to all of their job descriptions. It gives us access to their salary and pay plans. So when somebody says, oh, they're paying more somewhere else, well, let me see, and I can look that up. It's pretty readily available. In addition to that, there's an onboarding. Currently, because we're all paper, we don't have an online process. We have to have everybody come in to do their paperwork. So what happens is the first day that somebody's here, they spend the first 4 or 5 hours in HR, so they're not really in their department working. And by this time, a department is gone a month, usually, or more, without an employee. What this software does for us is it has an onboarding program as well. Because we're not physically having them come to our office, they can complete all their new hire paperwork online before their first day that they start, which that streamlines it for payroll, for their insurance benefits if they're full-time. It also lets us do our orientation online. It does a lot of things that frees it up for the employee. The other part is under the federal law, there's some requirements that we have to do training annually on Title VI. Title VI is because we receive federal grants, therefore we have to train on that annually. We also have to train on like sexual harassment, the employee handbook, a drug-free workplace. Those are the 4 mandatories that we have. This software allows us to do that. We currently do it online, but the database isn't available to everyone because of the software that it's in. This would put it into a software that would make it accessible to everyone who applies. The benefit of it is all the programs that I looked at, and it's similar to an HRIS system, which is a human resource information system, a database for the population. The difference in this system is most of the others are per employee per month, and every one that I looked at was going to be so costly. I mean, I couldn't come to you in good faith and ask for that kind of money. But this program is $30,000 the first year, and then it has a recurring, and it's the one time. The price stays the same for as long as we have the program. It never goes up. The other thing that is beautiful about it is because when they have a software update, a lot of these other programs that you would buy, if there's a software update, you would have to pay for the update. This one doesn't charge. When they get an update, you get the update. So it streamlines into that process. So I'm asking for this piece of software because I think that it's something that the county needs. A county our size needs online applications. It helps us to attract more candidates. It's ease of application. It helps in tracking and does so many other things. And I think that we're at that place. And I honestly would not ask for it if I didn't think that we didn't need it. And so that is my big item that I am requesting this year.
Did you have conversations with Hamilton County and City of Chattanooga about their experiences with this particular software? Did they give good feedback on, or did a lot of those conversations take place?
What happened first is we had an online webinar type thing, and we looked through the entire program. She let us ask questions, and her name is Sarah Clancy. She let us go through the whole process, and then the City of Murfreesboro has it. So I know Glenn Godwin, we have a good working relationship, and I asked him if we could come over and he could tell us the things that he liked and the things that he didn't like about the program. And the only drawback they said was that the training, they didn't allot enough time for their training in that. And with us being a small office, you know, they had more people to train, and there's 3 of us. So probably won't take as long to train, but he said I wouldn't rush the implementation. I would take the time to train because it's a pretty robust system. When you've gone from doing it manually to having an online process, it's a pretty robust system.
That you actually rolled right into what I was going to ask. So as far as the implementation process and training and things like that, is that all tied into this number?
It is.
So even if they come on site, all that travel is covered inside that number for the contract?
The online training, the training that they give us is a total of to $4,000.
Okay.
And the provisioning, which is the setup, which is to hook into our local gov and to set all of us up, is another $4,000. So that will not be a recurring cost. The recurring cost annually would be $21,000. So every year it would be $21,000. So it's not a per employee per month.
Right.
So if we grow to, you know,
yeah, it doesn't change.
2,000 employees instead of 900, it stays that rate. And she says it stays that rate for as long as we have the program.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure they weren't, that stuff wasn't going to be added on after the contract, because that could get awful expensive depending on how long the implementation takes.
And the other thing that I didn't mention is we have to we have to do EEO reporting as well, and we also have, every other year, we have to do the U.S. Census Bureau, and that's the wonderful thing about this too, is because when the applicants come through, we set it up as we go, and then all we have to do is hit a button. And right now, to do the EEO reporting, it takes us like a couple of days, because we have to pull information from multiple places to put it together, and so this will just ease up some of this for us, to help us to move forward. And one of the things that you may be wondering, like, well, if this is going to free up some time, what will you need, you know, what are you going to be doing then? One of the things that I've looked at is we need to start doing successor planning here in the county. The county historically has not had a succession program. And I've been talking about this for the last couple of years and telling departments that they need to get their key people that are in unique positions, or even people that have been around for a while, cross-trained. So today I ran some numbers just to see where the county was going to be. As of this year that we're in, 19% of our full-time population could retire. That's 187 people. And I mean, we average about 20 to 30 a year retiring. If 187 full-time people left us today, that would be pretty big. And 97 part-time people could leave. And our part-time people historically have been staying around 3 to 7 years. And I mean, you know, you look at the training that it takes to replace those. So if we start that now with the succession program and getting the training, and this will give us some of the time to create some of those tools that we need to make sure that we're moving forward. I just don't want us to wake up one day and not have the people.
I want to go back for a moment to your experience with Murfreesboro City training, or looking at their system now. Was that the NeoGov, or was that the onboarding, or was that all of it, or all sections? Are you basically getting the exact same thing they're getting, or explain that to me, please?
No, sir, we're not. NeoGov is the system that they have. They already had an onboarding system in place that they liked, and so when this came in, they said they didn't want to transition. However, they did tell me that at some point in time they probably would, because it puts it all in one system and that makes it easier. But they were wanting to do this one piece at a time, and it would probably, we wouldn't do the onboarding right off, we would do the applicant tracking, and that would probably be like the first half of the year, and the last half of the year rolled out the other piece. They do the online application process, the selection process, the reporting process, all of that, and that's what we viewed. We did look at their onboarding and showed them the onboarding that we were looking at, and Glenn felt like it was, you know, a good program. They just didn't move at that time because they felt like what they had and they didn't want to transition. So,
Would that eliminate all paper applications?
yes.
Would there be an area or computers available for people to come in without access to the internet?
Yes, sir. We would have a kiosk. I've already talked to OIT. To do a kiosk for an application, it's just, you don't have to have all the bells and whistles. You just have to have a basic computer. And so they have some computers where they've replaced us with newer models that we could use for the kiosk. And we have one laptop in our office. Also, the public library has several computers that people can use. And so we have talked to OIT about that as well. And OIT has been good about working with us. We've tried to implement an online application with our OIT. They wrote the programming, and we just can't get everything to line up. Brad has done a wonderful job. He's been very patient with us, because I tried to do that before I went this route, and it's not, we might have the online application eventually with our OIT department, but it doesn't go into a database then. We're still back to the manually entering everything we do. And I would really like to go as paperless as possible. We've eliminated a lot of paper in the office already, and scanned and got everything set up. So, you know, my worry always was if the building burned down, I'm responsible for these records, and if it burns down and I don't have copies. So we started that when I came, trying to make sure that we set everything up electronically. And this will just move us into that next phase.
You covered a Have you talked to the mayor's office about this budget?
Yes, sir, I
Okay.
did.
It looks like the increase is about $32,000, and that's 100% in the new software program that you're talking about. So other than that, outside of that, it's a zero-based budget that relates to even increases for your employees, however many there are. So really, the only thing you're talking about is an increase in budget for a new software program and process. We covered it with IT. We covered it with Brian. Have you talked to him about it?
Yes, sir. I actually invited him to come and be a part of the webinar process. And he looked through it and he told me, he said, there's no, he said, I would love to say that I could do this for you, but we can't do this for you.
Okay.
And so I wanted his blessing because we work closely with OIT and I wouldn't want to, you know, do anything disrespectful. But we're just to that point where I just feel like we need to move to the next century where it comes to that.
So he's supportive.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else for Ms. Stevens?
Well, who else besides Murfreesboro City is using this that you've talked to? Just to tell you the truth, I'm gun shy on software, and I think most of us are. I mean, I want to, you show me.
Well, I know, I can't honestly, when I took Glenn Godwin's word for it, I'll just be honest with you, I went and viewed it, and when I saw it firsthand, and based on the presentation that I had, I knew that Nashville, Metro Nashville was using it, Davidson County was using it, the state of Tennessee uses it, and I know that because when we have to go in and research stuff, I always saw the NeoGov, and I had talked to some of them and said, you know, is this a good program, and you know, everybody seemed to like it, but did I get in details with them? I didn't. I just went to the city of Murfreesboro, so I'm not going to act like I went out.
Nashville, Davidson County.
Nashville, city of Chattanooga, city of Clarksville, Hamilton County, Kingsport, Memphis, Murfreesboro, Nashville, Davidson County, Shelby County, and the state of Tennessee are our local people. And then Homeland Security uses it, and I was trying to think, there was somewhere else in the federal government. So I just felt like if it was safe enough for Homeland Security, it'd be good for us.
Well, that's NeoGov, I understand, but what about these others?
I'm sorry?
Is
All that's part of NeoGov. It's all, it's their package. It's the package. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not separate programs. It's one package. It's the package. The package includes, it actually has another piece to it, which I don't think that the county's ready for it yet. It also has a performance evaluation system. If we ever decided we wanted to go to merit increases as opposed to pay, you know, step increases or something like that, it does have that, but I don't think the county is ready for that quite yet. I would want to make sure that everybody was doing performance evaluations the exact same way before we went to that type of program. So that was another piece that they had that I opted not to even look at this point in time.
thank you.
Well, the budget looks really good. I like it. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward the budget with a affirmative recommendation.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The only thing I'd like to say, and I didn't want to disrupt the vote, I think that's something we need to get into, but if you wouldn't mind, have Brian, when you come to budget, have Brian come along. If you don't mind, I want to be able to question him a little bit about the
I'll do that.
reliability of this software.
Okay, I will do that.
How many employees does Murfreesboro have compared to Rutherford County?
They have, gosh, we have 900 full-time and about 300 part-time. They have about 600 or 700 total. I mean, they're,
Their HR department is how many folks?
oh, a bunch.
I know.
Plus a lawyer.
So, yeah, they've got a couple of
Yeah.
attorneys and I will say that they do some different things in their office. So, you know, it wouldn't be fair for me to act like they have a whole bunch because they spread out some additional duties. You know, their risk management is in their office as well. And so that does change the dynamic a little bit. So, you know.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you for your support. I appreciate it.
Second on our agenda is the Director of Elections, Mr. Alan Farley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't aware of this high-tech here, so I went ahead and brought a big Plus, when you're sitting here looking at what we're going to look at, those check marks don't show up real good on probably these screens here. But I appreciate y'all allowing me to come before you tonight. What I want to bring before you is that we've got a unique opportunity to be kind of on the leading edge in the state of Tennessee as far as elections. As we all have been reading in the paper, 2035, planning for the growth is kind of coming our way. And so this kind of fits into this process. What we're looking to do is to be able to provide voting convenience and also saving of tax dollars. Now, of course, I know in 1994, many of you remember that early voting was foreign because it's never been done before. And is this going to work? Is that going to work? We really don't know the details behind that. But we've got a generation of people now that have never voted on election day. Mm-hmm. And but this is kind of the same kind of concept here. Is that how many? I mean, everybody here, I'm sure, has used early voting. And of course, you have the technology and the convenience that if you live in Kittrell, but you work in Laverne, during that 15 days, you can get lunch. You can run over there to Laverne Civic Auditorium, and you can vote for your slate of candidates that live in Kittrell or in Milton. If that's where you live, you don't have to go all the way back across county. But the proposal that's actually before the legislature is creating these convenient vote centers. Now, don't confuse this with mega voting centers, to where you go to a shopping mall and you've got 100 voting machines and you only got 4 of these throughout the county. That's some states have that. This is not what I'm referring to. But currently we have 6 early voting locations throughout the county for a 15-day period. What this would allow is on election day, we actually take the precincts that we have. We have currently 48 plus 2 fail-safe locations, which is a total of 50 precincts. And fail-safe is that if you moved from the 6th district into the 12th district and you didn't change your address and you show up, then they'll send you all the way across town to change your address, and so you can vote. Well, this here is all electronic and allows you to make that change there. So what it does is at 5 o'clock you're not having to come all the way across Murfreesboro traffic to get to Vine Street to do this. So it's that convenience as well. Is the plan I have before you it's for discussion only, but it kind of shows you kind of what we're thinking is it has balance. It's not just centrally located, but what we would do is be able to go from 50 precincts to 30. So we have the cost savings of having those 20 precincts, but we take the machines, the equipment we have, and we move that into the 30 precincts. Right now we've got 9 voting precincts within a 3 or 4 mile radius of one another. 3 of them actually border each other: Oakland Middle, Oakland High, and John Pickett Elementary. Then we have some that don't even have a voting precinct in the district. I know Commissioner P and Commissioner Phillips have got kind of that same situation with some districts, some precincts that way. So what this would do is that if you, in a rural district, we have people off 231, Chevrolet Highway. They're sitting there looking at Christiana Elementary, but they have to drive on election. They have to drive all the way back to Crescent Church to vote when they can throw a rock from their house front porch and hit a voting precinct. And I'm sure most of you have heard, I've got to drive by 2 precincts in order to get to my precinct to vote. What this does, it eliminates that, because the technology that we've already been doing is through early voting. You can go to any one of those sites and you're identified in the computer program is that you're in District 4 or District 9 or 12 or whatever. They pull your ballot up on the voting machines and you vote that ballot.
just like they do at the all
Yes,
the
sir.
early locations.
The district lines doesn't change. I mean, you still have 21 county commission districts, and those boundaries don't change. But what it is in some of the rural districts, like with District 4, where you have 4 or 5 different voting precincts, you don't have to drive all the way to Kitchell School. You can come right there and you can vote right there at North Boulevard Church, or you can, or where you have a Bud's Tire situation to where in the May election, we had 8 people voted. We have 10 people voted in the August election. But because of the split Senate district, you have to have that precinct. Well, what this does is you can eliminate those because you can vote at any one of these convenient voting centers. So it makes logical sense. But part of the legislation that is the pilot program, they're going to allow 5 counties in the state to go ahead and do this. Rutherford has stepped forward, and our election commissioners have voted 5-0 in favor of this. But the part of the legislation is you have to amend into the bill. So it would be a resolution from the county commission to send to our state legislative delegation to say that we support this, we endorse this, and to add Rutherford County as one of those counties. We've got Chester County has said that they want to do it. They're the smallest county in the state. Hamilton County is another one. And for us, there's a lot of counties that don't have satellite locations like what we have for early voting. They just have Madison County, Jackson. They have one site, downtown Jackson. Everybody in Madison County has to go there. So we're not changing anything. All we're doing is we're tearing down the imaginary boundaries and just saying, okay, I can drive from here and drive right past this precinct. I don't have to drive past it anymore. I can pull in there and I can vote for any of the 21 districts. It doesn't affect city elections. It doesn't affect state and federal elections. So what I'm asking is for the commission to pass a resolution in favor of the convenient vote centers to pass on to our state legislative delegation. I tried to cover a lot of information there, so maybe if you look at the map, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
How long is the pilot for?
Basically, it's a pilot program. As it's once you're there, now you can come back and we could say, okay, we want to opt out. It's not going to work, but it's kind of like early voting. The convenience and the cost savings, basically, you don't want to get out of it, but you could. The commission could actually, the election commission could say, you know what, we want to go back to our normal process. And one thing I did fail to mention, this map here is there's 30. Being from Rutherford County and understanding the importance of our communities, every county commission district would have a voting center, and every one of our communities would have Milton, Walter Hill, Lascassas, Amelville, Eagleville, Rockville. I don't get to because I know I'm going to leave some out, but each one of those actually have Kitchell. They all have their own voting precinct, plus in addition to to the 21. So that's the reason why we have 30 as far as our initial plan to
So
grow
if
from.
we like it, it's a situation where we could keep it, or could the pilot program end and the state say, okay, everybody goes back because the state doesn't like it for whatever reason?
But I mean, if there's flaws, of course, which it shouldn't be because we're already doing this process now with early voting. Yeah, I mean, there could be, if it came back to us and we're not going to fund you to change this, I guess we could. From that way, but there's no mechanism in the law.
Just kind of testing it. To
Right,
see how
yeah, from that standpoint. They call it a pilot program, so that way they're not allowing all 95 counties to do this in a presidential election year. Because I'm projecting we're going to vote 110,000 people in the presidential election next year. And if we've got about 300 some odd thousand people now, there's 150,000 registered voters in Rutherford County. So if we go to 600,000, and my Oakland High School and MTSU math tells me 300,000 registered voters, that's a lot of voters we're going to try to accommodate. And it cost us about, in today's dollars, about at $27,000 to open another precinct. Because by the time you buy all the voting machines, laptops, all the other technical equipment, plus manning the staffing of those precincts, you do have additional costs. So as we grow, and state law dictates per however many people you have to have a voting precinct, which is 1 per 6,000. This here says for every 10,000 we would have a voting precinct. So we actually exceed that with the 30 because we could go down less than that. But but not in order to make sure we've got all of our commission districts covered and our communities is the reason why we have that many. That's where our growth's going anyway, over the next 20 years of us growing in those unincorporated areas.
How much savings are we looking at going from 50 to 30?
You, well, you've got your staffing, but what we have is that we have an initial cost. We have to mail each household, not each voter. If there's 3 voters in a house, you would have that initial mailing cost, which would be right at $73,000 to notify them. And then plus we would have an educational program that I want to do to make sure we educate all of the voters as well. But what you're going to save is right at $25,000 an election. So within 2016, you have the March 1st primary, then you have the August election, and then the November election. So you're pretty much going to break even right there on your first year. Then after that, you have your additional savings, and then you have your uncalculated gross savings. But by the time is you having to keep adding, because you're adding machines, because most of our precincts are in schools. So what you've got is you've got the gymnasium, which you've got room to add additional voting machines, but you don't need the locations, or you don't have to have an officer for each election, because right now state law says you have to have 4 election officials per precinct. So what you would do is you would add another machine operator per however many machines you have. So basically, ballpark would be about $24,000 an election right now, but then you have the future savings.
Is that only for a county election?
That's for every election.
Okay.
Every election. Yeah.
So
There would be no additional cost for the machines, because all you'd be doing is just be transferring machines around and reallocating them, right?
Right. What we would have, because when we consolidate those 20, and I say it could be 22, it could be 18, depending on what the election commission wants to adopt as far as the precincts. But what you would do is you would take those machines and absorb that within the other 20 or the 30 precincts. And then at that point in time, so you've got room to grow. But I don't want to get out here too far, because voting technology changes. So, it's not that we're going to buy a lot of machines, but they may come up with of course we had the Florida situation where everybody kind of had to adopt to a unified model. But what I'm wanting to do is make sure that we've got enough we've got some growing room there. And then once we reach the point to where we have to, it's state mandated a voting machine per 1,000 voters. From that standpoint, then we would have to add some more at that time, but you're only adding that machine and not the additional cost that goes with that.
Actually give you the capability of getting better qualified election workers, because you don't have to have 150 or whatever the number is.
Right, and that's one thing that we run into, which when I came into this, I noticed that people have a great civic responsibility, but a lot of times those civic responsibilities don't feed your family. So a lot of times they look for it as a opportunity for income, and then we'll have the November election. I think we had about 18 people that just didn't show up. I mean, they didn't call, they didn't, but we've got a good, solid core election workers that you see at your precincts every year, every election. And so what you're doing is you're able to consolidate that, plus your fail-safe election workers, because you're consolidating them. Those are some of your best and brightest, because they're dealing with a lot of more issues. So what you're able to do is take them and put them out into the normal voting precincts. So that kind of, it does strengthen your workforce there, labor force.
Commissioner Pete?
Well, I've looked at this and had seen it a little while back when we discussed it, and I like the concept all the way around. I do have a couple of questions. You're going to be consolidating more voters into some of the precincts.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, has the city not voted to align their elections with ours?
Yes.
So I'm thinking we're going to have more volumes, and the last thing that I want, especially since I'm fixing to make a motion to approve this, if that is in order, but the last thing that I want is to have a bunch of mad people at a poll that can't get in. And I've worked polls where people were actually turning around and going away after they'd waited in line for an hour or 2 and could not get in. That's the thing that I worry about, and I think all of us should be worried about. I want to make sure these people can vote, and I wanted to stress, for instance, I've got people that have complained to me that are in Joe Frank's district, in the 6th district, that used to vote at Kittrell. They're having to drive from Kittrell all the way over to Buchanan. Well, now they'll be able to vote at Kittrell, and some of the guys that are over closer to Buchanan would be able to vote there. And then we would lose some of the precincts in my area. For instance, I've got Oakland Middle and Oakland High School both had precincts there, and then of course I think John Pittard, well, there'd only be one there, but as long as there's enough voting machines to cover those people, you know, I think that that's going to be a plus for us. So I mean, I want people to understand that those areas are still going to have a voting precinct, and you can throw a rock from Oakland Middle to Oakland High School just about. I mean, well, you can across the street there. So it's not like there's a hardship to drive further in there. And there's a place or two, some of them I'm sure that it would be, but the main thing I want you to ensure us is that you're going to have enough machines in those polling places these people can get in and vote, especially with these news. I'm concerned about the city elections following with us, is the main thing that I'm concerned that I've got.
Well, I mean, in actuality, which we saw this past November, by going to voting persistence in August, you know, really and truly, you're seeing our numbers are being driven. You know, the city's not driving our numbers. We were driving the city's numbers because there was more people that voted in the last special city election that voted in the mayor's race in April with that change. So, but you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, my neck's on the line, and I want to make sure, because it's like I tell my people all the time. I said, I would rather go over here and face all of you and ask you for $10,000 more to do training for our election workers and have to come here and explain to you why an election went in the tank. I mean, I know it's tough coming over here and asking for money, but I would rather have those pressures than I would be coming in and saying, you know, because this happened. So, you know, it's something that we're currently doing, but it's going to take a lot of planning. We've sat down with OIT today and said, okay, and I told them, I said, I want to run a mock election. I said, if we're going to go to these sites and we're going to take our network and we're going to take our laptops and we're going to plug in and we're going to know that we can tie into our server. I mean, so it's one of those, there's not an election going on, but you would think with our system, because, you know, we're out in front of this enough to where we can do that instead of just trying to do it at the last minute. So, I mean, I'm with you, because behind, I mean, they're coming for me and probably right after they get to you or each of you. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. We're going to do everything we can to, but it's to make it convenient for them and make it, you know, more in a cost savings. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Well, I haven't asked that unless somebody else got a question.
Let me just, Robert, if you don't mind, kind of recap. We've got 70 voting locations now, did you say? 70? 50, and we're going to 30.
30, yes.
Okay. And those 30 will all be open during early voting as well as election day?
Just election day, because you've got your normal precincts, your 6 locations, Laverne, Civic, Smyrna, then you've got Vine Street, Election Commission, Blackman, and SportsCom. Those 6 early voting sites will be the only early voting sites during that 15-day period.
So that won't change?
That won't change. I'm looking to add, if I can find an additional site, I'd love to add an early voting site on the 231 Barfield Christiana area, so that would relieve, because most of them are coming up here. Because as we continue to grow, the numbers are becoming, you know, the volume of voters are coming more, so I want to try to put something out there with that growth. So we could go to 7, that's my plan there. But what we would do is we would have 30 sites that you could go and vote at any site on election day. So the only thing that changes on election day is that there are fewer sites, but you can vote at any site on that one day. Whereas in the past, you only could vote in one place. And we're also encouraging too to encourage people to vote early as well. But the only change is that there would be 30 voting locations, so which would be 18, reduction of 18 than what we currently have, because 2 of those are a fail-safe. But we would have a reduction of 18, but you have the flexibility of going and voting in any one of those locations.
that concerns that I have nothing to do with your plan. It has to do with the locations in the last election cycle.
Mhm.
Two of my precincts were in Robert Pease district.
Mhm.
One of his precincts was in my district, and another one of mine was in David Nipper's district, and I had none. So all of the people from the 17th district had to go someplace else to vote. All of them did. And a bunch of Robert's folks had to come into my district to vote. It was the screwiest thing I'd ever seen. This, you made attempts to clean that up.
Yes, basically, like Reeves Rogers would be a voting precinct, but it doesn't matter if you're in District 4, if you're in District 17. Anybody can vote there, but the people that live on Greenland Drive don't have to drive past it to get over to, North Boulevard, Church of Christ to vote. I mean, they're right there. Now it may be closer, because of where they work or whatever. But yeah, so basically it eliminates those needs, because it really comes down to the way the boundaries were drawn, and you have to try to have a precinct within that physical boundary. And the last reapportionment made it tough. They're trying to find locations in some parts of the county.
Okay. So early voting will pretty much be the same.
Be the same. That's not touched.
And the only difference that we're talking about is that anybody can vote anywhere on election day.
Yes, but they still vote for their,
Right.
where they're at, because it's not that I can go vote in Laverne and vote in Laverne.
But just exactly like they did in early voting.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And just vote one time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Petty, you have a motion?
I move that we petition the state to allow us to be in this pilot program.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I have one more question. Would you have to send a new voter card to everybody if you kept some of the precinct locations the same?
Yes, sir. What we would do, because really your part of the planning on that would, when you notify them of the change, that would be within the same mailing. So you would have to send them a new card, but it wouldn't have that you're assigned a certain precinct, because you have the flexibility. But within that would be an insert that would show all of the voting precincts that are polling places in the county, that they could choose any one of those that they want to go choose. And most people will stay true to whatever's closest to them. But because of work, because of, I see people probably that maybe work in Nashville, they may, when they're coming back in, instead of driving across the county, they may stop in Smyrna. They may buy gas there too. And, or Laverne or places like that, so I guess it's generating local tax dollars for, either way, but it's one of those things of, there's a lot of benefits from it. So they would actually, where they might vote at Reeves Rogers School, but it would be more convenient, timely, because by the time they drove back from Nashville, they wouldn't have to be pushing 7 o'clock. They'd stop there in Smyrna or Laverne or Rock Springs, or depending on how they're coming back from, various different places.
Robert, I don't know what the percentage of your
I was
district
frustrated too, by the way.
that's voted that is voted early. But mine is increasing in the district that I serve. Have been increasing early voting year after year or election cycle after election cycle, and it now exceeds 50%. So that election day is not as big as it has been in the past. That's when a lot of folks go vote, but still the majority of people have voted before that. And I just think that having the opportunity to make it more convenient is just really a smart thing to do.
The only other thing I would mention is, whether, depending on whether this passes or not and gets to the legislature, but this map is great, and I happen to know where the polling places are, but most people don't. Or, looking at that and not knowing where the others are. If you could put this up on our television and the web, and not only just the check mark, but put the name of the precinct there.
Right.
That way people can look at it and understand, because I expect there'll be some people calling me and saying, well, I don't have one here at Bud's Tire anymore.
Right.
Well,
This is
which we didn't anyway, but.
This is strictly a visual to show you that there's balance throughout the county, that it's not, it's not heavy toward the high density areas. That, just to check just shows you the precinct location that we've kind of identified, but it may end up being, you know, that's just kind of a, we'll see, yeah, we'll do that once it's passed and been accepted, we're moving forward, yeah. Because we'll actually, I've even looked at, maybe is there a way to do an insert through CUD or Middle Tennessee Electric and their bills, even though all we're doing is printing an insert to kind of educate them and showing them where the voting precincts are, just, and the mail's already going, but is there a way to kind of, you know, piggyback something like that, but also utilizing all of our local cable outlets and stuff, because it's going to be, voter education is going to be key to letting people know what this is.
Well, I think people are gonna like it.
Yeah.
Once they realize what they can do.
And because I mean, we get a lot of, I got a lot of complaints of different, you know, precinct locations because of parking or because of, you know, for whatever reasons, and the sites that we're going to will be able to handle the parking. And what we're working with, we've worked with our city school superintendent, met with them, some of the school board members, to discuss about them closing school on election day. So that's, you know, but letting them know a year, 2 years in advance, because in the statute tells us what our elections. I can tell you the election date in 2018 is going to be, or 2022, as long as it's not been changed by the legislature. So letting them know when they set their calendars is going to be important from that standpoint.
Anything else? Okay, we have a motion on the floor and there was a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I've got 2 items under other business I'd like to bring up at this time. House Bill 1262 and Senate Bill 1174 are being proposed to the General Assembly. These 2 bills are unique to Rutherford County. As it stands, the county government can authorize a work center, formerly known as a workhouse. And my understanding that these bills will take away our authority to do so, and that authority will be transferred to the Sheriff's Department. Even though this is unique to Rutherford County, this went straight to the General Assembly. It bypassed all local stakeholders, including the Work Center Board, this committee, County Commission, and our mayor. I believe that this is a local issue, and it should remain a local issue. So I'm asking for a resolution that we oppose House Bill 1262 and Senate Bill 1174.
Is it in discussion right now?
I'm just asking for a resolution.
Is it in discussion, those bills? at
It's
the
my
state?
understanding that they're, the deadline to send in a bill is drawing near, and I think that the House is in there. I don't know that it's in discussion.
I'd like the mayor's input on this, some input from the mayor. Would you be supportive of this resolution, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's enough input for me.
Do you have a motion then?
I do. Move to approve the recommended resolution.
Okay, is there a
And
second?
forward it on to the full commission.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, are there any other comments or discussion?
Is there any reason why it didn't come through? I'm
I have no idea.
okay. I don't mind discussing it if it comes through the regular channels. I just don't know why it didn't come through the regular, or how it even got started. I was just looking for background. That's all. That's more rhetorical.
Yeah, all I know is that the bills have been numbered at least, so they're up there. Mr. Stevens, do you have any research on that? Or
I did. I actually looked it up a few days ago. The way the law is written now, it says that if you've got this system where the mayor and the board of directors are over your workhouse, that it can't be changed unless the mayor recommends a change, and then 2/3 of the county commission goes along with that.
Right.
Now, to me, that takes away the legislature's power, because, gives it all to the mayor. So if the bill was to take away the mayor's ability to recommend the change and make it a simple majority vote like every other issue is on the county commission, I wouldn't have a problem with it, because it lets us make a decision after it comes through our committee process and we make a decision based on the information. But to have the state tell us, you're doing it this way, I don't think that's the way to handle it. And I emailed Senator Ketron and Representative Womack, explained my opinion on that to them too, that just mandating that we do it a certain way without our input was probably not the best way to do it. But if they change it to where the commission could discuss it without having the mayor's support, that would be a reasonable change to a law. And I've been saying for years it doesn't make sense to have a board of directors over prisoners. And some people have laughed and said that's crazy, it's not going to change or whatnot. But I think the mayor is perfectly capable of handling the workhouse without a board of directors that we have to pay. But we can't take that away the way the law is written now. So, but I think sending this on to them and asking them not to do what they have planned now is a reasonable thing.
That was just an extension of where I was going. Was we just had a meeting with our legislative delegation, I think, talking about things like this, and then that's the first thing we get for March is something I didn't even know about, to be quite honest. I'm concerned, that concerns me significantly, because we just had this conversation with our delegation, not to spring stuff on us like this, go through the process and go through the right channels, and it at least for me, it didn't. And again, I apologize, maybe there was something that I was given. This was the first I'd heard of it.
Well,
So I'm concerned about that.
I think every local stakeholder was bypassed. Went straight to general city.
Okay.
Anything else, any other comments? We do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Also, you will see House Resolution 78 by Commissioner Representative Mike Sparks. During our, I guess, town hall meeting or discussion forum with our state legislator, a lot of comments were made to the effect of unfunded mandates coming down from the state. And so this motion, I think that you have a copy in front of you, is opposing unfunded state mandates to local governments. And he is asking for our support, be it on record, I'm supporting this. And so I am asking for maybe some discussion, possibly a motion to send forward to the county commission supporting this resolution.
I just got one observation. We normally go through this every year that we oppose unfunded mandates. So I don't have no problem voting for it, but this is something we do every year. But
I guess it's just another tool in the box. It keeps the conversation alive. It keeps it going. Just let the state know that counties are challenged by these unfunded mandates and would like some relief.
I agree, it's a topic that when you oppose, but this doesn't do anything. It just says that the state should enact legislation that would relieve counties and cities of their obligation to carry out the mandates.
Right.
I mean, why don't we just tell them to do it instead of saying that they should do it?
Yeah, I think
Make
that
it
was
happen.
that was another thing I think that got brought up in our January meeting was they were wanting to propose that. Well, it's been what, 45 days, and it hasn't, to my knowledge, there hasn't been a bill submitted yet saying we formally support that, right? I mean, to my knowledge. So yeah, I mean, I want to put some teeth behind it. I think that's what Commissioner McInerney and Stevens are saying. We can keep doing this just for ceremony, but there's got to be something we can do to put teeth behind it, to say we're calling on our delegation to be the ones to help lead that, whether it's Sparks, Womack, whoever. It doesn't matter to me. So whatever we can do to add teeth to that, you know, it's great for this to pass what we're calling on them, but we want them to have skin in the game too, to say we support our county officials, that unfunded mandates need to stop, and we're going to lead that charge at the state level too.
So I guess the way I look at it, that this would not be detrimental to the state, but it would cause the state to think more carefully and maybe may not send things down because they know they've got to pay for it, but that may not come to fruition for several years. But I think something like this, and we could kind of add a little bit more to it, it keeps the conversation going. It's like the wine and grocery stores. It took years for Central Catchment to get that passed, and we may be doing this for a few years longer to finally get some attention that we can get something with teeth. So maybe a motion to accept this resolution, and then maybe encourage some other actions, and as you call it, some teeth to be put into legislation.
Mayor Burgess, have you seen this?
I did see it late this afternoon.
Could you take this to our county attorney and have him make those tweaks that we're talking about?
Sure.
And then present that to the
Give me a little bit more specifics about some
Well,
added to the language.
And I believe that this is the resolution that he has filed. So I think if we tweak it, this is what has been filed.
Okay.
So I think that we would send a resolution to support this, and then amendment to put this amount of teeth into it.
Do we have any specific bills that we don't want to pass this year because of the unfunded mandate? I mean, do we know of any that are coming?
We don't actually know of any. But you know, one was filed by the same representative last year that would not permit us to raise our property taxes in excess of a certain percentage without their approval or without a referendum, I think. So, anyway,
If we had a specific, so we want you to vote against this bill, or we want you to do this, I think that would be better than just saying, in general, what's going to happen is it's going to go on the consent agenda and nobody's even going to look at it.
Well, that's where I was going with teeth. If we could put pressure on them to say, you guys know what's going to be unfunded before you even vote on it, we're expecting you to alert us to that and vote accordingly based on the resolution that you've challenged us to accept. We're sending that back to you and asking you as our delegation to, again, to put teeth behind it and say we're going to help lead the charge to stop these unfunded mandates for the county and for the people that we represent.
I think one of the best things we can do as far as putting teeth in it, and it still sounds pretty benign, is to just ask for any bill that they pass to give a cost analysis of what it's going to cost us.
Yeah.
And when they pass it, and it comes down with this is what the cost is going to be, whoever's running against them next time are going to say, well, yeah, he voted for this, and that's what the cost was. And I'm telling you, that would do as much good to us or for us, and by asking that all they do is associate the cost with each one of these bills that they pass down. And I mean, I've seen time after time, you know, you talk, as you drive around this county, you see new construction, those little black plastic lines with the pegs in them. You know, we ended up having to raise our fees to cover a person to go out and inspect and make sure that that was being done, and that was a federal and state mandate. So I mean, it just piles on and on and on, and I'm personally tired of taking responsibility because the buck stops here, and there's not another form of government below us that's going to get revenues to pay those bills that they're saying we got to do. And I think saying, hey, associate the cost with whatever bill comes across is not something unreasonable to ask.
I myself would like to go ahead and pass this and take it to the full commission. We may get some teeth put in it from the full commission. There's 7 of us sitting up here.
Sure.
And we got the other 14, maybe out of the other 14, they may have something specific that they can add to it. But if we don't do anything with this, and just let it sit here and just let it ride for another year, I'm not getting any input from the other 14 commissioners. So I myself would like to see it come out of this committee, go to the full commission, and we can discuss it on the floor of the full commission. And by the time it gets to the full commission, these several commissioners here can be looking at these mandates, and they might have a specific one to bring up on the full commission. I just want to see it get to the full commission.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
So this is the resolution that would be taken before the county commission, this one?
Yes.
Right. And then we can tweak it or whatever, you know.
Or we can put up our home.
Yeah, we can.
I don't have any problem doing that either. And I'm ready right now if you are, so.
Anything else? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I expect a lot out of it.
Anything else for the committee?
I expect a lot out of it.
Well, thank you very much and good evening. This meeting stands adjourned.